cheating on keto and intermittent fasting. The chances are that if you've clicked on this video, then you may have had a few too many carbohydrates, maybe a little bit too much alcohol. If you've had a birthday, or there's been a wedding, or it's been Thanksgiving, or Christmas is coming up, how do we deal with cheat days? Welcome to the Liz and Scats channel. Hello, I'm Liz. I'm a clinical holistic therapist, a yoga and meditation teacher, and soon to be keto nutritionalist as well. And with my lovely husband Scats, we have been doing keto and intermittent fasting, and now with prolonged fasting since May of 2020. And between us, we have lost 110 pounds. And we've also, which is the biggest news of all, reversed my husband's type 2 diabetes, which is the best ever. Now we find ourselves in a position to be able to look through all of the plethora of information about keto fasting, holistic health, and helping you to stay as healthy in mind and body as we possibly can. So help us to help you by doing this.
Subscribe, and click on the bell.
So, cheating. Let's just have a look at the definition of cheating, shall we? On my screen right now, it said an act of dishonesty or unfairness in order to gain an advantage, or it's to avoid something with luck and skill, i.e. she cheated death. When we talk about cheating on a ketogenic diet, it usually means that we've had too many carbohydrates. Celebrations can bring about cake and crisps and lots of those party foods that we all know and love, and also help us to put all that weight on to start off with. So in my point of view, the word cheat doesn't really imply that you've got some sort of unfair advantage. Another way of putting it actually is a treat day. And I suppose that cakes and chocolate and things like that, party food, are actually classed as treats. When I was a child, I was given sweets and chocolate and cake as a treat or as a birthday gift. The problem with this is that we tend to associate all of the happy, good memories, the milestones in our lives as having to be involved with carbohydrates or sugars or sweet things. This is obviously going to cause all sorts of problems. As soon as we come to a big event, something is going to click inside us and we're going to think cake, chocolates, party food, that sort of thing. It is a bit of a problem. So if you're doing a ketogenic lifestyle, we try and keep the carbohydrates down below 20 grams every day. Now that sounds like quite a lot really, but when you consider that the average American diet, you're normally consuming around about 250 to 350 grams of carbohydrates a day. And when you think about that, that's waffles and pancakes and breads. It all adds up. So let's talk about cheating. It's not really cheating because you're not getting an unfair advantage and you're not actually treating yourselves, because the majority of the time, if you are actually cheating, what will happen is that you won't feel very well the next day. Why is that? Now, the reason you won't feel brilliant the next day is probably because if you've had too many carbohydrates, the body's gone whoop. Especially if you've been doing the keto diet for a while, you'll be fat adapted, and then suddenly there's all these carbohydrates and sugars coming back in again. It's not going to make your body feel fantastic. The pancreas will be having to secrete insulin at 10 to the dozen in order to keep up with the blood glucose levels. Also, you'll be kicking your hormones out of kilter, so you might actually not feel very well at all. And some people, when they say they've had a cheat or a treat day, they actually feel like they've got a hangover the next day. So if you've had a cheat day and you've been on the keto diet for some time, i.e. more than a month, the chances are all you'll have to do is do a fast the next day and just keep back into the ketogenic diet once again of 70% fat, 20% protein and 5% carbs. You should be fine within about 24 hours. If, however, you've only just started the ketogenic diet and you have a treat day or a day where you eat far more carbohydrates than you have been, then it might take you a little bit longer and you might actually be kicked out of ketosis, in which case you might have to start all over again. Now, don't worry, there's not a problem there, because it just means that you just have to go back to the beginning and just start your journey once again. It's not a problem. It's going to be okay. So if you've had a long period of time, for example, we've got Thanksgiving and Christmas happening right now. Some people, they just want to go, do you know what? I'm just going to leave it and I'm going to start back on the keto again in the new year. Now, if that sort of happens and you've got a whole month or a long period of time where you're eating carbohydrates, you will have to start again. Your body will become again glucose adapted rather than fat adapted. So what do I mean by fat adapted? When we actually start burning fat, the end result is that we produce ketones, and these are amazing fuel for the brain and work wonders, and it means that we're actually burning the excess fat in our bodies. The body is miraculous and it does actually find a way of finding fuel for itself. So if there's suddenly no more carbohydrates and the glucose is all now depleted, the next thing to happen will be that you will become fat adapted. The body searches for fuel and you will search for fat. That's the first thing. So all of that visceral fat, all the body in your abdomen, around your organs, will actually start to deplete. So this is fantastic. If, however, we go back to eating carbohydrates once again, insulin is actually a fat storing hormone. So if we're eating way too much, say for example over Christmas, then we could actually start to put weight back on again because we tend to put more food on our plates at this time of year. So there'll be more insulin and more carbohydrates, and so there will be fat stored. So here we go, what to do if you've had a cheat day or a month or a week or whatever it is. The best thing you can do is to fast. It's the quickest way to get yourself back into ketosis, and make sure that when you do eat, you eat a ketogenic diet. So 70% fat, 20% protein, 5% carbohydrates. If you fast for more than 16 or 17 hours that first day after you've cheated, then everything will get back to normal so much quicker. Fasting, it's brilliant. Another thing which works beautifully is water, lots and lots of water. Now, it is a good idea to drink a lot of water at all times anyway, regardless, but especially after you've had a day or more than a day of eating lots of carbohydrates when you were in ketosis beforehand. Water will actually help with your hunger the first day you're back on it again. So if you're drinking lots of water, your belly feels full, and so you won't feel like eating as much. It's also wonderful for helping your detoxification organs out a little to get rid of all of the toxins that you will have ingested with processed foods and excess sugars. So liver, kidneys, spleen and bowel will thank you for drinking a little bit more of the water. And if you've had too much alcohol, water is most definitely the number one item that you need to be getting back into your body again. It'll help you to get rid of the headache and the nausea feeling as well if you're feeling really hungover, and just to help get all of the alcohol and all of the glucose back out of your body again as fast as possible. Now, most people I speak to say that they actually feel really quite weird if they've had a prolonged period on ketosis and then suddenly they have a day where they're eating lots and lots of carbohydrates. I like to call this the glucose weirdness. It really does feel very, very odd. And the reason is because it's just your body going, hang on a minute, I thought we were fat adapted and now you're ingesting lots of carbohydrates again. Of course your body's going to react in some way. And one of the biggest and most weirdest things about this is that actually you feel really, really hungry. Why is that? The reason being is that when we spike our insulin by eating way too many carbohydrates, it also spikes your hunger hormone. There's plenty of them, but the main one is lutein, and if that's spiked, then you will feel hungry really quickly after you've eaten, especially if you've eaten a lot of carbohydrates. So the best way, again, is to ingest some liquid, especially if you're still doing the fasting part of your recovery. Now, I've already talked about water. Another nice way of just mixing it up a little is to get some mineral water, maybe sparkling. That's often a really nice way just to get some more minerals back in your body to help heal yourself. You can also try some keto matcha or keto coffee as well, a bulletproof coffee with some cream or ghee or butter in. It's really good just to line the stomach and get the body back into the ketosis again. It also helps you to feel less hungry. So the most important thing on day one of getting back into the ketosis once again is to make sure that you have a good meal. All the right proportions and macros, obviously, but make sure that it's good meat, good quality meat from a good source, grass-fed preferably, free range if it's chicken, and make sure that your vegetables are absolutely organic. This will mean that you just have the most easy transition back into ketosis again. Simple. So here are some things that you really shouldn't do after a day of so-called cheating. A lot of people I speak to on Facebook and Instagram who've had days where they've eaten way too many carbohydrates, they feel guilty, so guilty. And the first thing that they think of doing is going out and doing really high pressure exercising, like going for a run or doing some high intensity interval training. This is actually a double-edged sword. So it could actually help you if you've still got quite a lot of glucose left floating around in your body. But if you've only had a few extra carbohydrates on the day that you were misbehaving, then it's probably not a good idea. The best thing to do would be to go for a long, steady walk. It does actually stimulate all of the body's systems, helps your digestion, and if you take a good glug of water with you as well, you can be doing all that detoxing at the same time. It also helps to get the metabolism moving again and really will help you to get detoxified as soon as possible without doing yourself any damage. It's also very good because it doesn't sort of mess with the weirdness that you're feeling. I felt the day after I really didn't want to do anything. I wanted to go out for a run, but I think if I had, I might have felt a bit sick or nauseous anyway. Also, doing some high intensity exercise could actually be a bit of a shock for your system, especially if you've had 3, 4 or 5 or even a prolonged time where you've been eating too many carbohydrates. So the best thing to do would be to have about an hour-long walk each day for the period after you've eaten too many carbs, but also make sure that you get some rest. Good rest is vital for ketosis. One last thing that you should not do is give up. The amount of people I have spoken to over the last few days who have said, because it was Thanksgiving, that they have fallen off the wagon and they ate too many potatoes and had potato crisps, and they've also had chips and takeaways and all sorts of other things and lots of sugary foods and desserts. And they feel really bad and just don't want to step on the scales and don't want to go back to keto because they know that Christmas is around the corner. So here is my message to you. We're only human, and these traditions that we've had for so many years are very difficult to break, especially if you're around people who don't normally do the ketogenic diet. So please give yourself a break. It's okay, and you can always get back to it. If you give up, then it'll have all been for nothing. It would be so easy just to leave it behind and just leave it until New Year. But you can actually do some fasting in between the holidays, and you can also revert back to ketosis if you do all the right things that we've just been talking about. And if you time it right and it was just for one day, you could actually be back into ketosis in 24 hours. So do keep up the good work that you've been doing. We're proud of you. So it can be very difficult sometimes to keep on the keto train, as it were. So do ask us questions in the comments below just to see if we've got any advice that we could give you for over Christmas. We are going to be doing videos very soon about different recipes that you can include in your holiday festivities and the best alcoholic drinks to drink so that we don't slip out of ketosis, and also how we can incorporate fasting into our holiday lifestyle. In the meantime, if you have slipped out of ketosis, don't worry. We're here for you. We can help. Thank you for watching. See you next time.